I never thought I'd be the kind of person to post on Reddit about my relationship falling apart, but here I am. Maybe it's therapy, maybe it's for validation, or maybe I just don't want to carry the weight of it alone anymore. Whatever the reason, I need to get this story out. I'll start at the beginning. I met Anna when I was 25. She was 23 at the time, a friend of a friend at a house party. I remember she had this energy about her that pulled people in. She wasn't the kind of girl who had to try too hard. She just was. She had this infectious laugh that carried across the room, and when she talked to you, it felt like you were the only person in the world. That night, she asked me if I wanted to join her and some others for a late walk around the neighborhood. By the end of that walk, I was hooked. We started dating quickly. I wouldn't say it was a whirlwind romance, but it was close. She had this way of making even mundane things feel special. A grocery run became an adventure. A rainy evening turned into cozy movie marathons. We clicked. Or at least I thought we did. 2 years later, we moved in together. That was when some cracks started to show. She was still sweet, still fun, but there were these small moments that nagged at me. She'd get secretive with her phone, tilting the screen away when I walked by. She'd laugh at messages and quickly lock it when I asked who it was. Sometimes she'd disappear for girls' nights that I was never invited to. And when she came back, she always seemed lighter, almost glowing. I brushed it off. I told myself I was paranoid, insecure. I loved her, and love, I thought, meant trust. So I trusted her, even when things didn't feel right. By our 3rd year together, we were invited to spend part of the summer at a friend's family dacha, a countryside house outside the city. If you're not familiar with the concept, imagine a rustic house surrounded by trees and gardens with a lake nearby and enough space for bonfires, late-night talks, and too much vodka. It's the kind of place where you go to escape the noise of the city, to breathe easier, to feel alive again. I was excited. Anna seemed excited too, maybe a little too excited. She insisted we go, even rearranged her work schedule to make it happen. She said we needed this, that we'd been too stuck in routine lately. And she was right. I wanted to believe that this trip would bring us closer. The first couple of days were everything I'd hoped for. We were there with a group of friends, some mutual, some I barely knew. The air smelled like pine and fresh earth, the nights were filled with laughter around the fire, and during the day, we swam in the lake or lounged in hammocks. Anna was radiant in that setting, barefoot in the grass, hair messy from the wind, laughing with everyone. I remember looking at her one afternoon while she danced around with a glass of wine in her hand and thinking, this is the woman I want to marry one day. But then came the small things. Always the small things, right? On the 3rd evening, while everyone was sitting around the fire, Anna's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, smiled, then stood up and said she needed to get some air. I watched her walk off into the dark, phone in hand, her face glowing in the screen's light as she typed quickly. 15 minutes later, she came back saying she'd just been talking to her sister. It didn't sit right with me. Why leave the fire, the group, to talk to her sister? Why not just sit amongst us and answer? But I kept my mouth shut. I didn't want to start a fight in front of friends. The next day, she offered to help one of the guys, Alex, gather firewood. They came back over an hour later, both laughing about something private. When I asked what was so funny, Anna waved me off. Inside joke, she said. I felt it then, the first real sting of suspicion. Alex was handsome in that rugged, careless way. He was the kind of guy who didn't need to try hard to get attention, and he clearly had it from Anna. Over the next few days, I couldn't ignore the signs anymore. She always seemed to sit next to him when we gathered as a group. She laughed louder at his jokes than anyone else's. She would brush past him in ways that felt deliberate. I noticed his eyes linger on her, too. I told myself I was imagining it, that the countryside air was messing with my head, that I was just jealous and insecure. I wanted so badly to be wrong. But late one night, as I lay in bed, in the upstairs room of the dacha, I realized Anna wasn't beside me. The bed was cold, where she should have been. I got up, crept to the window and looked out toward the garden. And that's when I saw shadows moving where no one should have been. Two figures. Close. Too close. My heart dropped. I didn't know it then, but that moment was the beginning of the end. Standing at that window, staring out at the faint movement of shadows in the garden, I felt my stomach twist in ways I can't even describe. At first, I told myself it could be anyone. Maybe two friends sneaking out for a smoke. Maybe someone grabbing more wood for the fire pit. I didn't want to believe it was her. Not Anna. Not the woman I thought I knew. But deep down, I already knew. I grabbed my hoodie and crept down the creaky wooden stairs of the dacha, careful not to wake anyone. The air outside was sharp and cool, carrying the smell of damp grass. The night was quiet, except for the faint sound of crickets and the distant rustle of leaves. My heart was pounding so loudly I was convinced it would give me away. I moved closer to the garden, staying low, letting the shadows of the trees cover me. And then I saw them. Anna and Alex. They weren't just talking. They weren't just standing too close. They were kissing. Her hands were in his hair, his arms around her waist, their bodies pressed together like they'd been waiting all night for this chance. The worst part? She looked happy, happier than she had with me in months. I froze. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. It felt like the ground under me had opened up and swallowed me whole. My chest ached, my throat closed up, and the only thought in my head was, this is it? This is really happening. I stood there for what felt like forever, watching my girlfriend, the person I'd trusted more than anyone, betray me under the moonlight. Eventually, I stumbled back, too numb to even confront them right then. I went inside, crawled into bed, and stared at the ceiling until the sun rose. The next morning, Anna acted normal. She crawled back into bed sometime before dawn, smelling faintly of smoke and pine like she'd just been out for air. She kissed my cheek as if nothing had happened. I wanted to scream at her, shake her, demand answers. But I stayed silent. I needed to be sure. I needed proof. So I watched. And once you start looking, you can't unsee. The way she touched his arm when she laughed, the way he brushed her hair out of her face, the way they'd sneak glances at each other across the table when they thought no one noticed. On the fourth day, the group decided to take a swim in the lake. Most of us ran straight into the water, splashing around like kids. Anna lingered behind, saying she forgot her towel. Alex offered to help her look. I watched them disappear into the house together. 20 minutes passed. 30. By the time they came back out, both of them looked different, flushed, guilty. She avoided my eyes. That was the nail in the coffin. That night, while everyone else was drunk around the bonfire, I pretended to be too tired and slipped back into the house. I waited. Sure enough, not long after that, Anna made some excuse about needing to grab a sweater. 5 minutes later, Alex followed. I crept after them. My hands were shaking, my throat dry. Every instinct in me screamed not to look, not to confirm what I already knew. But I had to. I found them in the guest room. The door wasn't fully closed, and through the crack I saw everything. Anna on the bed, Alex leaning over her, their lips locked, her hands tugging at his shirt. My stomach turned. My knees almost gave out. I wanted to burst in, to tear the door off its hinges, to scream. But I didn't. Instead, I stepped back, silent, letting the image burn into my brain. Because here's the thing. Once you see it, really see it, there's no coming back. I stumbled outside, sat down in the cold grass, and let the numbness consume me. The stars above looked sharp, almost cruel in their brightness, while my whole world collapsed. I thought about every moment Anna and I had shared, the nights we stayed up talking until sunrise, the promises we'd made, the plans for the future. All of it felt like a lie now, a carefully constructed play, and I'd been the fool in the front row clapping along. She came back to our room that night like nothing happened, crawled under the covers, curled against me. I lay stiff, staring at the ceiling, my mind screaming while my body refused to move. Her breathing evened out quickly, like she hadn't a care in the world, like she hadn't just destroyed me hours earlier. In that moment, something inside me broke. And once it breaks, it doesn't go back the same. The rest of the trip was torture. I couldn't look at her without seeing Alex's hands on her. I couldn't hear her laugh without imagining who she was really laughing for. And she seemed lighter than ever, like betraying me had lifted some invisible weight from her shoulders. I realized I couldn't just let this slide. I couldn't pretend. I needed to confront her. But not at the dacha, not surrounded by friends. I wanted her to know I knew, and I wanted her to feel the weight of it. So I waited, and when the trip ended and we finally got back to the city, I planned my move. The ride back from the dacha was unbearable. Anna sat next to me in the car, humming along to the music, tapping her fingers on the dashboard like nothing was wrong. She leaned her head on my shoulder at one point, and I had to fight the urge to shove her off. Every second felt like a performance I hadn't agreed to take part in. When we finally got back to the city and dropped everyone else off, it was just the two of us in the apartment again. The walls felt tighter, the air heavier. I kept replaying the images in my head. Anna and Alex in the garden, in the guest room. Her smile brighter for him than it had been for me in months. That night she acted as if everything was normal. She cooked dinner, poured wine, even asked if I wanted to watch a movie. I went along with it, quiet, observing her. I wasn't ready yet. I wanted the words to be sharp, undeniable. I wanted her to feel what I felt, that gut punch of reality crashing down. 2 days later, I made my move. We were eating breakfast. She was scrolling on her phone, laughing softly at something, probably some message she didn't want me to see. I set my fork down, looked at her, and said, "I know." She froze. "Know what?" "I know about you and Alex. The late-night walks, the firewood trips, the guest room. I saw you." Her face drained of color instantly. She opened her mouth, closed it, then tried again. "It's not what you think." "Don't." My voice came out harsher than I expected. "Don't insult me by pretending. I saw you. I watched you. You didn't even try to hide it." She started crying. Big, dramatic tears rolling down her cheeks, her voice cracking as she reached across the table. "It was a mistake. I don't even know why I did it. It didn't mean anything. Please, you have to believe me." But I didn't. Because I'd seen her face when she was with him. I'd seen the way she lit up, the way she leaned into him like he was gravity itself. That wasn't a mistake. I was choice. I pulled my hand back, stood up, and walked into the bedroom. She followed me, sobbing, begging, grabbing at my arm. "Please, I love you. I don't want to lose you. It was stupid. I swear it's over." I turned to her and said, "The moment you kissed him, we were over. You just didn't have the guts to tell me." Her expression shifted then, like a mask dropping. The tears didn't stop, but there was anger underneath. "So that's it? 3 years together and you're just going to throw it away over one mistake?" "One mistake?" I laughed bitterly. "Anna, it wasn't one. It was night after night at the dacha. It was every time you thought I wouldn't notice you slipping away. That's not one mistake. That's who you are." She broke down again, collapsing onto the bed, sobbing into her hands. I watched her for a moment, waiting to feel something. Pity, love, even anger. But I felt nothing. Just emptiness. That was the day I ended it. I told her to pack her things and leave. She refused at first, saying she had nowhere to go, that we could work through this. But I didn't budge. I slept on the couch that night while she cried in the bedroom. The next morning, she left with 2 suitcases and her phone clutched in her hand like a lifeline. And just like that, 3 years of my life were reduced to silence.
The weeks after were brutal. I won't sugarcoat it. I drank too much, slept too little, replayed everything in my head like a broken film reel. Every laugh, every kiss, every I love you felt fake now. I wondered how long it had been going on, how many times I'd looked her in the eyes while she was lying to me. She tried to reach out at first, texts, calls, even showing up at the apartment once. I ignored her. I had nothing left to say. Eventually, the attempt stopped. I heard through mutual friends that things with Alex didn't last. Apparently, once we all got back to the city, he ghosted her. She had thrown away our relationship for a fling that ended before it even began. Part of me wanted to feel satisfaction at that, but honestly, it didn't make me feel any better. It just made the whole thing feel even more pathetic. So why am I writing this here? Because even now, months later, I still can't fully process it. I look back and wonder if I missed the signs, if I should have confronted her earlier, if trusting her blindly was my biggest mistake. I think about how easily someone you love can become a stranger right in front of you. And I think about that night in the garden, about the shadows moving where no one should have been. That image is burned into me forever. I don't regret ending it. If anything, I regret ending it not sooner. I regret letting her convince me for so long that I was paranoid, insecure, when all along my gut was screaming the truth. So here's my advice to anyone reading this. If something feels wrong, pay attention. Don't gaslight yourself the way I did. Love should bring you peace, not constant doubt. As for Anna, I don't know where she is now, and I don't care. She made her choices. I made mine. And me? I'm still healing. Still figuring out who I am without her. But at least I know this. I'll never let myself be blinded by love again. Not ever.